You're watching Nile TV International. This is the Daily Debate. I'm Ayman Salah, sitting in for Dina Osman. Tonight we will be trying to read into the developments that took place in France last week, the terrorist attacks, its political repercussions, as well as putting it into a media perspective. Why is this different? Why is the world's attention being shifted to this attack whilst daily heinous acts claim the lives of many without such reverberation? We want to understand what's taking place without jumping to conclusions that divide people, divide cultures, and divide religions. But first, let's watch this report that puts some events into perspective. France has seen an alarming rise in violent anti-Muslim acts across the country following last week's string of terrorist attacks carried out by 3 Frenchmen claiming links to foreign Islamist groups. In a stirring speech to the National Assembly on Tuesday, Prime Minister Manuel Valls said France must combat growing anti-Semitism and protect what he called our Muslim compatriots. That comes days after terrorist attacks left 17 people dead in Paris, adding the attackers wanted to kill the spirit of France, but failed. France is not at war with religion. France is not at war with Islam or Muslims. France will protect, as it always has done, all of its citizens, those who are believers and those who are not. That statement was according to Valls, adding that anti-Muslim acts that have taken place in recent days are unacceptable and intolerable, and that the attacks on a mosque, a church, any religious building or cemetery is an assault on French values. Earlier on Tuesday, a prominent French Muslim group said that more than 50 violent anti-Muslim acts had taken place in the past 6 days, citing figures from France's Interior Ministry. Valls had noted that his country is at war against jihadism and terrorism, but France is not at war against Islam and Muslims, announcing a series of measures that draw on the lessons from last week's attacks, including creating specific quarters for jihadists in prisons, along with tighter surveillance of the internet and social media. We must respond to this exceptional situation with exceptional measures, said the Prime Minister, but ruled out exceptional measures which deviate from the principles of law and values. Meanwhile, in a further act of provocation, this week's edition of Charlie Hebdo ran a cartoon with an unbecoming depiction of Prophet Muhammad. Charlie Hebdo's previous depictions of the Prophet are said to have prompted the attack on its offices, which left a number of people dead, including the satirical magazine's editor and 4 other cartoonists. Outside France, the Washington Post, Germany's Frankfurter Allgemeine, the Corriere della Sera in Italy, and the UK's Guardian are among publications to carry the cartoon. 3 million copies of Wednesday's edition, including versions in English, Arabic, and Turkish languages, are being printed, and normally only around 60,000 are sold each week. Editor-in-Chief Gérard Biard bragged to reporters, expressing happiness to have done this and happiness to have been able to do it, to have achieved it. It was tough. The front page was complicated to put together because it had to express something new. It had to say something relating to the event that we had to deal with. That statement was according to Biard. In a related event, French MPs, taking the lead from others in the region, had voted in favor of recognizing the Palestinian state. The motion, which passed with 339 votes in favor and 151 against, prompted swift and angry response from Israel, which said such unilateral measures would harm efforts towards Middle East peace. According to a statement issued from its embassy in Paris, the vote in the National Assembly will reduce the possibility of achieving a deal between Israel and the Palestinians. The recent wave of recognition moves comes as diplomats in the EU warn they are weighing punitive measures against Israel, saying they are frustrated that they are unable to force their political designs on that state. The Israeli ambassador to the United Nations attacked European parliaments voting on the recognition of Palestine, dismissing the Palestinian issue as less important than the plight of other nations, labeling the issue as unilateral, unjust, and unhelpful, and that it presents a distorted and impartial version of history. The ambassador described the moves as transforming the cause of Palestinian self-determination into a deliberate attempt to denigrate, defame, and delegitimize the State of Israel. Last November, French politician and former Prime Minister of France, Laurent Fabius, announced in the French National Assembly that France will have to shoulder its responsibilities by recognizing the State of Palestine without delay. So the question that raises itself is, why now?
A new Suez Canal. A national project. Fully financed and implemented by the Egyptians.
لان احنا متاخرين قوي. طب والله العظيم احنا مستعدين نبيع نفسينا عشان خاطر مصر. التخطيط اللي كان معمول قبل كده كان يتصور ان احنا ممكن نتكلم على حاجه على امتداد القناه بالكامل، واحنا كملنا في الدفاع وقتها. انا بقول انا كنت مسؤول عن ده، وقلت ان ده هيبقى ضد الامن القومي المصري. في المشروعات اللي هي خاصه بالقناه وحفر القناه وملكيه القناه دي للمصريين. زي دلوقتي لو كان لي عمرنا ان شاء الله نصير لهم العمر نيجي ونفتتح المرحله ديت ونعبر في القناه الجديده ال 35 كيلو.
Welcome back. Tonight's debate, terrorism in France vis-a-vis in the rest of the world. Why is it different this time? With us to tackle the issue is His Excellency Ambassador Raouf Saad, the former Assistant Foreign Affairs Minister, and Dr. Magda Bagnoud, the head of TV department and professor of mass communication. Unfortunately, it's a private university, so we cannot say the name or else it's an ad. But thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have both of you here. Let me start by asking Your Excellency why the terrorist attacks in France are different from others that are taking place around the world.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to join such a debate because it's quite an interesting topic that we need to go through, and it would need a lot of analysis because it's a very exceptional situation what we are facing. And answering your question, it is different because it took place there, because you have been telling them by all facts, information that what we are facing today is a universal phenomenon. and they chose to undermine our arguments and picking on, for incidents that took place or continue to take place here in Egypt, they, while condemning the attacks, but always associated with a kind of insinuated criticism of, disproportionate violation of the, rights, so on and so forth. So